Hello and welcome to the Hoop Troop podcast. I am Matt O'Connor, and joining me as he does on all of our shows is my cousin Luke Drobner.
What's up, guys?
And my brother Mike O'Connor.
What is up?
And we're back. We took honestly a month and a half, maybe even almost 2 months off. Yeah, little summer break. I was about to say not much happened in the NBA, but some pretty substantial stuff happened. Donovan Mitchell got traded. Kevin Durant sheepishly went back to the Nets.
Pat Bev is a Laker.
Pat Bev is a Laker. Schroeder's a Laker. Russell Westbrook is probably going to be. He's going to be on his couch in no time.
Coming off the bench already.
So actually, now that I think about it, quite a lot has happened. RJ Barrett signed a rookie extension, which I love, but that obviously goes into the Donovan Mitchell trade talks. But we're about now a month away or so from the actual regular season starting. So this episode, we figured, why not coming back in here, do a little way too early predictions episode, kind of like a little preview of what we're probably going to see in the NBA this year. Whether that's, the different awards or just general, who's going to win the championship, who's going to get to the championship, those sorts of things. What big team's going to miss the playoffs, stuff like that. But fellas, we're back. Luke, I know you had something on your computer if you wanted to pop that open to guide us a little bit here. For those of you watching on YouTube or the video we upload on Spotify. Alrighty.
As our videos.
I like it. So where do we want to start? Where do we want to start with our way too early predictions?
Where to start?
I think maybe let's just start by naming some teams out of both conferences that we think are playoff locks.
Yeah,
right. I like that.
So we're filling in the greens. Playoff locks.
And then playoff locks. And then want to start with the East or the West?
Let's start in the East.
All right.
And particular, right now, order, or we're gonna fill out our greens and then maybe reorder them. What do you think?
I think if we just say generally these teams are gonna be, they're realistically playoff teams, I think that's fine. If we don't nail the order right away, we can obviously discuss it. But for example, I know Vegas, I think, has the Celtics as the best odds to win the championship right now. I don't even think they're going to be number one in the East. So I think they're obviously a playoff lock, but
yeah.
Right. So, all right. I'm going to start rattling off some Eastern Conference teams. Bucks are absolutely going to make the playoffs. They are, and realistically, in my eye, they are going to come out of the East. I think actually win the championship, but I don't want to get too far ahead.
Okay, yeah. I spelled Milwaukee, right? I definitely think the Bucks are going to be good. I don't know if they'll have the number one record just because I think both Giannis and Chris Middleton will miss time. I think Drew Holiday is the only person who's going to play more than 75 games out of the three players on that team.
How low? What's the Bucks load management like? Do you think Giannis is playing 60 games? Do you think he's going to miss 20 games?
I think he'll play 70 games and he'll play 32 minutes a night.
But that's, a pretty substantial workload.
Yeah,
he's only going to miss 10 or so games in the season. That's going to make him an MVP candidate. Arguably,
he's going to be in the conversation for sure. I think the thing with Giannis is there'll be some games when they play Detroit and they'll be up by 30 in the third quarter. Giannis won't play in the fourth, right? And he'll end up playing 26 minutes on the night. There'll be other times when they play the Brooklyn Nets and it's a tough game and they fight it out until, the last minutes of the fourth quarter and Giannis will play 42 minutes that night. But
yeah,
I think they'll let's say he plays 42 minutes against the Nets and then they immediately go play the Knicks the next night on a doubleheader. I wouldn't expect Giannis to play more than 30 minutes that game.
But nor should he. I think a lot of these players who play these huge minutes night in, night out, all that, it's just detrimental. It's the Tibbs syndrome. It runs guys into the ground. You really you shouldn't be playing more than I'd say at most, if I were a coach, I wouldn't want my guys averaging more than 32 minutes a night. That's so much playing time throughout a full season, let alone sustaining that with championship runs year after year. That's so many miles on those legs. And you really want to preserve Giannis the best you can. So I agree that he shouldn't play that much.
I think the one thing the Bucks are missing as well is like a combo guard wing scorer behind some of their starters. Because I think one weakness we saw last year with them was Grayson Allen not being able to get it done. And I don't think bringing in someone like a Joe Ingles is going to change that. I don't think especially because Joe Ingles is coming off an injury, but
I mean, his price is too high, but like imagine Jordan Clarkson on that team.
100%.
That would be amazing. But
I mean, the offseason is not over. Like they could still make a move. And I think it would make sense for them to make a move.
Any of those Jazz pieces, if you got Bogdanovich,
that would be big too, because he can create by himself.
But at this point, as a Knicks fan, you're biased. Like, why even begin the barter, conversation with Danny Ainge at this point? But
yeah,
I also think they are definitely going to need to rely on their rookie, Marjan Beauchamp, a lot. At least, maybe not necessarily at the beginning of the season, but his role definitely needs to grow as the season goes. Because, I mean, I wouldn't say he slid in the draft, but I think people valued him much higher than he went. He went what, like 25th, 26th, something like that?
Way late.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, I really like the pick for them. So I don't know. I think they're so balanced that
it'll play a role for them. I don't know if it's going to be the role they necessarily need.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, let's move on to another Eastern Conference playoff lock.
76ers. Easy. I think the Bucks and the Sixers are realistically the two juggernauts. And then you could make the case for Boston.
The only reason, and it's interesting, I have it the other way around. And the only reason I have it that way is I think the durability of the Boston Stars is way, 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 way higher than the Sixers. So, like, record-wise, but again, that's my opinion. I think the Sixers are probably better at full strength.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I personally definitely am. I don't know why I'm so low on the Celtics. And like I like that they added Brogdon. Like I think that absolutely addressed their biggest weakness in their championship run last year was not having that point guard to go like set an offense and really get it going. Like that's exactly why they faltered against the Warriors, was they were relying way too much on guys who aren't those playmakers to create offense. And so it was just, that's kind of why it sputtered.
And their bench is awful.
But again, you just mentioned durability. Like we have no idea what to expect from Brogdon this year. He has such a bad injury history. He's coming off of, I mean, really, when is the last time he played? Like it's just, and especially like played a full season at that. So I don't know. I am cautiously optimistic about the Celtics. Like I obviously think that they're still somewhere in the top 4 teams in the East, like depending on how all that plays out. But I don't know. I don't know that I'm a believer that they're going to go to the championship.
I like the Celtics being a good regular season team. I think they have high expectations. I think they themselves want to come out and really show everybody that it wasn't just a fluke how they got to the finals. I think they're going to have a good playoff run. I'm not so sure if they'll make it to the finals.
Yeah. I think the East, oh my God. Like the more I think about the East, and I know we're going to get through it as we get through some of these teams, like they're going to be first and foremost, there's going to be a good team that doesn't make the playoffs. Because as we go down this list, you're going to see the East is stacked with like at least playoff level talented rosters. So there's at least going to be a good team that misses. And then on top of that, you're going to have a great team not make the second round based on how many good teams there are.
And here's why I think that's going to happen. And I think my 4 is Cleveland.
Wow, that's high.
The reason I'm putting Cleveland at 4 is Brooklyn needs to prove it. Brooklyn could be number 1 in the East, but they need to prove it.
I'm not so sure about Brooklyn. I think the year's going to play out very similar to the way it played last year.
I don't.
That's why you can't put them in the top 4. Certainly.
I don't think you can put them in the top 4. But
I think Miami is probably that
14 top 4.
I agree. I think Miami is still, and like they're, again, to our point of like consistency night in, night out, they don't really have guys who sit out. Like they're, I don't know. And I'm not
always find someone good too. There's going to be somebody we've never heard of who's going to be good for the Heat.
Everyone just punted my Cleveland at the 4 spot.
No. I think Cleveland is a playoff lock. I think they're either 5 or 6, but I would go out of my way to say the Nets are 5, and I'm far more confident in them than you guys are. I know everything went wrong with Kyrie and like whatever, but
No,
there's no vaccine issue this season. So barring him being weird and like leaving unannounced, like he has done in the past, so I don't want to discredit that. But like barring him just taking time off, like he's gonna play. Like it's not like last season where at a minimum he's missing all his home games.
But let me ask you about you're the seventh guy on the bench for the Brooklyn Nets. Do you really want to be in Brooklyn, or is this just where you got your contract?
And I don't know. Patty Mills resigned.
If you're Royce O'Neal, do you want to be in Brooklyn?
Yeah, like you're playing with arguably the best player on the planet. One of the best point guards.
Kyrie is confirmed crazy.
Yeah, he's nuts. I mean, posting Alex Jones clips.
I would be uncomfortable hanging out in the locker room with Kyrie. I'd be like, yeah, bro, like for sure. I wouldn't like. I'd be a yes man with him. I'd just be like, yeah, you know. I'm here to play basketball. I'm not like there's no team mentality.
They don't have leadership in that locker room because even as much as you want to say Durant is that guy, he's clearly not. No. He just demanded a trade and to have his GM and coach fired. Like,
it also like it says a lot when Andre Drummond, who's now a Chicago Bull, I think, came out and said at the end of the year he was like this place is messed up. Like no one really wants to be here.
Yeah, but that said, the talent is undeniable with them, and if they play, it's hard for me to say that they're not going to be.
I think they'll lose in the first round again. They'll lose in 6 in the first.
See, but that's what I mean. There is going to be, even now, like Cleveland is a great team. You have 4 All-Stars on that roster plus Evan Mobley. Like that team is awesome. I can't see them winning more than a playoff series. And even that, like, look at the teams they have to beat.
They're just young, too. We talk about this all the time, especially with Mitchell rumored to the Knicks. I don't like a 2 small guard system.
Right.
I don't think Mitchell and Garland are going to thrive together on the team.
See, that bothers me less than it's bothered you. And I know I don't want to like beat that, totally over everyone's heads, but like we've discussed it. But yeah, like I think they are going to have defensively between Mobley and Allen enough to realistically hedge themselves off of that. So you're going to have like an electric offense, and then your defense, it's not going to be great, but you have guys who can make up for their shortcomings. So
yeah, I just think come playoff time, someone's going to exploit the lapse in perimeter defense.
Cleveland's making it to the second round of the playoffs.
That is a bold statement. Who are they beating then?
I could see them beating like a Brooklyn Nets, Miami Heat.
They could totally be, right now.
But they have to be in that range. Again, though, like
I could see them coming out and popping the Brooklyn Nets in the chin and just winning like a tough 5-6 game series.
How do we know they're not a play-in team? We don't.
No.
And then if they are, they're toast. They're not going to beat any of those, at least the top 3 teams.
I think they could beat the Heat. I think they could beat the Heat, the Nets. And maybe I'm overbuying. And like, I hope we can look back on this and make fun of me if I am, but damn, they are good. Like, they are. That starting 5, who's got like a beefier in terms of talent starting 5 than that? Yeah, the Nets have really good talent in the top 2. Giannis is unbelievable. Embiid is incredible. We'll see with Harden. Maxi's good.
The Sixers have a good lineup.
But you have arguably an all-star at every position. Arguably at every position.
But you could say the same thing about the Sixers. Harden, Maxey, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, PJ Tucker. I guess PJ Tucker not really, but PJ Tucker's such a great role player. I don't feel he's a lapse in
such a good role
position.
Yeah. Tough. But I do agree with I think the Nets out of the green that we've decided here are the highest candidate to dip into the yellow out of them. But
I think Cleveland or the Nets. I think everyone else is probably safe.
Fair enough.
But then it's a matter of who vaults them. So now we go.
That's right. I think the Raptors are still going to be very good.
Yeah.
And like they're not a pushover.
I want to put the Chicago Bulls here in at 7 though.
Fine. But then again, you're even further pushing a good team down. I think the Bulls are more like 9 or 10, but that's fine. I'm okay with either order.
I think completely healthy, the Chicago Bulls can be good. I think they shared up some of the weaknesses they had in the offseason. Bringing in Andre Drummond as a backup center, I think, is going to be huge. I think if Lonzo Ball can go back healthy and like Lonzo Ball, it could be really, really big, especially because they have no wing depth. And if you play like a Caruso, Lonzo Ball starting lineup, I don't think you lose anything playmaking wise, especially with Levine and DeRozan. You do lack a little bit of size, but I think Lonzo Ball is such a savvy IQ player that it doesn't matter.
I just think we can't rely on Lonzo Ball coming back and being healthy and his best self. I mean, he's already going to miss the start of the season, it sounds like. We have no idea what's going to happen. And so, I don't know. I obviously, I like Levine. I like DeRozan. I like Vucevic. And, like, I like some of the guys on the roster. Patrick Williams is good. You know, like, they have a lot that I would say, like, oh, in a vacuum, yes. The problem is, like, I just don't know, again, as we're going through all of these teams in this Eastern Conference, I just don't think they stack up. Like, I think the Raptors are better than them, personally, but I get why we're here like this. I also like a team that we didn't write down right now, the Atlanta Hawks, who just traded for DeJounte Murray. Like, they got better. I don't think Atlanta's a 9. Like, that to me is low.
Well, and then
low.
I know it does feel low, but then this 10th spot really comes like I feel like there are a lot of teams that can compete for 7, 8, 9, 10. You know, the 3 we have here, Bulls, Raptors, Hawks, I think are all going to be in the mix. New York Knicks obviously can be in the mix, bringing in Jalen Brunson. You know, I know we're all Knicks fans. I got my Knicks shirt on. I got my RJ Barrett jersey in the back.
That's nice of you to put them maybe in the 10 conversation.
No, they are.
I think we also have to talk about some other younger teams that are looking to push the bubble too, like the Charlotte Hornets, the Orlando Magic, who just drafted Paolo, who could potentially be a huge impactful player as a rookie. And the Detroit Pistons, Cade Cunningham coming into his own. Obviously, I'm a Jaden Ivey fan.
My thing though is like they are
team.
To me, they're not playoff threats. They're not pushovers. So like it used to be, you see Detroit on your schedule and like that is most likely a win for any of these playoff teams. Now, I don't think you can guarantee that. Yeah. So,
can I put the Indiana Pacers in here at last?
Yeah, they're awful. We could even work our way up from there. Yeah, the Pacers are bad. Like, as much as I like the Magic, like they're going to be towards the bottom.
I would think about putting the Wizards at 14.
No, well, I don't think so.
I think Bradley Beal will win you a couple of games.
Beal and Porzingis, like, you're going to win games.
I don't think Bradley Beal is going to play a long season.
They're also weirdly deep. Like their bench, like they have a bunch of good young guys. Like I like Rui a lot.
They're all so average.
Yeah, that's the problem. They're not great at anything. I think you could put Orlando down there. I think you could put who am I missing? But then I guess realistically it's Charlotte, the Knicks, and who else?
Charlotte, the Knicks, and Detroit.
Yeah. Oh, so Detroit is probably there.
But
Charlotte.
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 You're a coder, so we'll give you
I can't.
You think the Pistons are better than the Hornets? Anyway, in any event, I think it's fair to say that probably Detroit misses, and then the Knicks are realistically the 10. I think that there's a huge drop off from 9 to 10 and everyone else. Yeah. I think the top 9 are like definitely set in stone. The order is just the only thing that'll change. The rest of it, like, I don't know who 10 is. It's probably the Knicks, but I wouldn't be shocked if another team stepped up and got there.
And I think a lot of these teams down here at the bottom are kind of storyline teams. I think of the New York Knicks, if Julius Randle plays like we know Julius Randle can play, can you, like, it wouldn't be so hard to believe that the Knicks could be 5 or 6 or 7.
And I wouldn't hold your breath.
I think a few things need to happen. You need to see Barrett get way more touches, and you need him to take a jump. And you need Brunson to settle everything down and actually be a controlled playmaker, which we've not had.
I think RJ Barrett needs to take a step in being a perennial all-star. I want to see RJ Barrett be an all-star this year. I want to see RJ Barrett be an all-star next year and the year after that, and so on and so forth, right?
I mean, I think that's within reason. Again, though, the East is freaking stacked. Like,
yes,
it's going to be hard to make an all-star team in the East.
Like, and you also think about like some of the guys lower on this list who have followings and they're going to receive votes and things like that. Like Bradley Beal. Push comes to shove, Beal's going to be an all-star over RJ.
Yes, definitely.
And no
And,
one,
like,
no one's talking about it, but like, was LaMelo an All-Star last year?
he was.
I think he was.
So like, that's gonna happen probably. And then no one really talks about it either. But Cade,
Cade could 100% be an All-Star.
what Cade does this year, and I'm sure he'll get more. I'm sure Detroit has a few more nationally televised games than last year, I would assume. So like more people will see him, I would guess.
Yeah.
I think Detroit's going to be really interesting because you have a lot of young guys who you kind of feel that could potentially be great this year.
But
I think both Durant and Ivy had the chance to make first team all rookie, which could definitely put them in the play in.
They're
depending on how well Cade plays.
They're a big league pass team now. Like there's enough there that I think I would want to watch a Detroit game. Not necessarily
they're gonna be
like
exciting.
The Pacers, but still.
I put them in the same. I put them in the same range as the Charlotte Hornets, which is what we have, right? 11 and 12. I could definitely see that swapped. I could see one of them being in the play-in.
I think they're worse. I think we botched this a little bit. I think the Magic are 14, the Pistons are 13, and then Charlotte and Washington are 11 and 12. But whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, we're splitting hairs. We all agree that realistically, those are the teams that miss the playoffs.
The only other thing I'll say is, and I think it'll happen again, I'm predicting it. The Bulls start off in the green based on the standings, and then they're going to slowly
dip down.
We'll see.
I think the Bulls could wind up being on the back end, the back end of the play-in, 9-10.
Interesting. Okay.
Also, Matthews. This is my last comment on the East. Matthew, you seem higher on the Hawks than I am, just based on like maybe just the summer league DeJounte Murray that really rubbed me wrong.
Yeah, I mean he was being a weirdo all summer, but that doesn't make him bad at basketball. He's a good basketball player.
Massive weirdo, which just I mean, if we're using the massive weirdo principle that we're using on the Nets, I'm using the massive weirdo principle on him.
Which I guess now it comes back to why I am not as down on the Nets as you guys are.
Oh yes, okay.
So I'm forgiving the massive weirdo epidemic.
I do think DeJounte Murray wilded out a little bit this summer, but I think we're going to see him kind of relax a little bit once the season starts. I think a lot of the hype was more for like a marketing standpoint type thing. Like, hey, everyone should come out and watch the Pro-Am and be, if you're a professional player, you got to be playing here because the fans want to see you.
Yeah.
I also want to make a comment about, okay, here we have DeJounte Murray. He's averaging insane numbers, but on the Spurs, which we know is a huge system type, players who aren't good are going to look really, really good on the Spurs. So I want to see what DeJounte Murray looks like not under a Greg Popovich system. So
it's a very fair point.
I think he's going to be a great player and he's still going to look really good, especially next to Trae Young and John Collins and all them. But I would not expect him to be an all-star this year.
It's fair. All right. Now we have our East set. You guys want to take it? You bringing up the Spurs made me want to pivot to the Western Conference.
Let's jump to the Western Conference.
All right. Are we starting at the top or the bottom?
Let's start at the top.
Unlike the East, there's way more bottom level talent. But
have you guys played the new 2K?
We played one game and Michael kicked the crap out of me.
It's really tough with the shooting now. If you
literally could not figure out how to shoot.
If you have to green it.
Yeah.
But what I have learned about it is that some players are cheat codes, like Ja Morant, which is why I want to put Memphis here in this number one spot.
Whoa, okay. You think Memphis is number one in the West? That's crazy.
They have realistically the coach of the year. If Monty Williams didn't deserve a makeup award, Taylor Jenkins would have won coach of the year this year.
All right. I mean, I do agree with that. Here's my counter. The Denver Nuggets are getting exponentially better this season.
100%.
And I think the Nuggets, assuming Murray and what's his name? Michael Porter Jr., like assuming they come back and look good. I am so high on the Nuggets. I think they're going to be number one in the West.
I think that
at least in the regular season.
I think that the Nuggets will take it slow a little bit, especially early in the year when they're just starting to get guys back. I don't think Jamal Murray or Michael Porter Jr. will be playing big minutes until the 30th game of the year.
But they got Caldwell Pope. They also got another.
No, their roster's insane right now.
Who's the Nets guy they got?
Bruce Brown.
They're solid.
They had two first round draft picks this year. They're going to look good. Jokic is going to make a huge impact. They're going to keep them afloat around that 4, 5, 6 range until Murray and Porter Jr. kind of find a rhythm and start playing, 30, 40 minutes a game. But until that, I think they'll sit down in the standings. And I think you'll see some teams in the West just take a huge leap ahead. Warriors, Suns, and Grizzlies are going to jump out the gates. They're going to be like 10 games above everybody else. I don't know if you guys agree with that.
So
I think want to do what we just did too, where we like listed a few of like the automatics in the West. Cause I think the automatics you're right. I think the Grizzlies are probably, I don't think as high as you think, but fine. I do think they're somewhere in the top 6.
I think Ja's an MVP candidate.
I don't,
He's
but
Derrick Rose. He's Derrick Rose on the Bulls.
Which, the only reason he won that is because people were tired of voting for LeBron. But we're not here for that conversation today.
No,
that's exactly what's happening. But Giannis is going to win again.
I'm not tired of voting for Jokic. I think he should win again. But anyway,
the Warriors, I think, are going to be. The Warriors are going to be in the top 6 again.
So
they just won a championship. The team did not get worse.
Warriors at 2, they're only going to get better, and I think a lot of that also comes from. I think Wiggins really found himself, and that's the X factor. I think Steph and Clay's always going to be better. He's going to come back better. Cool.
All of their young guys are going to get better. Denver, I know, you might not like Wiseman, but he's going to get better. Just over time, players get better.
He's back. There's almost not much to say about the Warriors. They're just really good.
They're going to be in the mix. The Nuggets, the Clippers, absolutely are somewhere in here. The load management's the only reason I have them lower.
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
Now that I already called my shot with the Bucks, making it to the finals, I think Clippers are definitely going to make the finals. I think that team, top to bottom, is the best. It's so well constructed. But that doesn't mean anything in the regular season with the way that they operate. So we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know if I can. The Clippers not in the same way of dysfunction, but I'm kind of giving them the Nets treatment. They need to prove it first, and they're really well constructed. I think the coolest thing about Kawhi is no one talks about Kawhi. I think it's really cool. I think he lays super low.
Boardman gets paid.
Awesome. That's what I liked about him on the Raptors too.
He actually, my one Boston College shout out. He practiced at BC with the guys, I think, or at least showed up
with Reggie Jackson.
Reggie was not there. I think it was a New Balance thing because we're now sponsored by New Balance. So I think they called in Kawhi, which
cool. I would like the Kawhi Assance. The Kawhi Assance would be cool. I like Luke. I like you silently putting Dallas in at 5.
Stop that.
And I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but you're saying Ja in the MVP. We're gonna get to MVP, but
Luka Doncic playing the Eurobasket, I think, is so huge.
How are you putting the Mavericks in at 5? Phoenix.
He's gonna come out the gates firing.
We are insulting Phoenix, and I think
that is insane that you think the Mavericks are above Phoenix. Phoenix literally had the best record in the NBA last year, and they botched the playoffs undeniably. But they have not gotten worse this offseason.
They're like the Los Angeles Lakers. Go, Mike.
No, you have a point, and then I'll go.
They're like the Los Angeles Lakers. Nobody's scared of them anymore. I don't think anybody is like, oh man, we got to watch out for Chris Paul. I don't think anybody's going to say that.
I also think this. I think, unfortunately, I think the window is closed.
I agree. Well, I think the Ayton situation.
The Ayton situation, I think, is really strange. I don't think Ayton really wanted to be there anymore. And I think he's doing a good job of saying, I'm still here and, glad we could make an arrangement to keep me here. But I think he was fine to go somewhere else. And then the Sarver situation, I think, is hanging over everything.
Definitely.
I think it's going to be a weird year. And then also, I think Chris Paul can always be a hamstring away from not playing.
I think there's a lot of tension within the Phoenix organization. I think we're going to see them get very frustrated at some point through the season. They're going to just start dropping games. I really don't think they're going to stay competitive throughout the whole year. I think they're going to be up and down. It's going to be tough. They're going to stay in the green though. And yes.
I think so too. I think we are weirdly, I am not as high on the Mavericks as you guys are.
No.
So I actually think the Mavericks are in the play-in, personally. I think losing Brunson hurts them more than gaining Christian Wood helps them.
Yes.
And I understand Luka's going to come in like healthier than he's been in the past.
This is the first offseason he will come in not overweight and out of shape.
I think this Mavericks team is worse this year than they were last year. He might individually be better, but I don't love it. I think they are somewhere in 7 to 10, probably more like 7, but still. And I think we're leaving off a couple good teams just based on the way that we put this out. I think the Pelicans I think they're going to be right in the mix for this 6 or 7 spot.
I think Minnesota
is going to be there.
I think Minnesota is going to find a new energy. Anthony Edwards is only going to get better. And I think Gobert is really, really good. And I think people forget that a little with all the Jazz drama, but he's really good. So
how do you play Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert at the same time?
Can you? Is what you're saying?
You play Cat at the 4. And
so then get exposed defensively every night?
No. Will you?
Nicholas Batum and Terrence Mann will have career highs against the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's going to be weird matchups. Like the Clippers are that's the reason I think they're going to go. And I mean, they're going to be in the finals.
Herb Jones will absolutely pop off against the Timberwolves.
Oh my God.
I'm power forward. He's wide open in the corner. Go, Mike.
Well, then put the Pelicans at 8, Luke.
Is it projected for Zion to play this year?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's going to start the season.
Zion's starting the season? Okay.
Yeah.
Then can I say something? I think we're fucking up the West a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Where are we moving what? Are we moving the Dallas Mavericks to the play-in?
I think, what are we doing with the Grizzlies at 1? Luke, I think we got to overrule you.
Who's going at 1?
Anyone but the Grizzlies.
Safe bet is the Warriors.
I think we shift everyone from the Clippers up. And then if we want to put where the Clippers were, we put the Grizzlies.
I like the Memphis at 2.
I think it's wrong, but fine. I think the Mavericks are not going to be in the top 6. I think we're lying to ourselves. Then I think the West is weird in this like 5 through 8.
I really think we're judging teams purely based off skill, which I like, but
I
just don't think it matters in the regular season.
Yeah. And I guess the other thing, it's the nature of this way too early prediction. Like you're just gonna.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, I guess it is.
We're gonna hate it at some point. I can guarantee you.
And now I am thinking that the Pelicans should be the 7, but I still think are the Pelicans with the roster? Is it very good? Zion could blow through his sneaker. Like I don't know.
But let's not. I don't think that's the case. I think he's going to be fine. And I think ever since they got CJ McCollum last year, they were really good. And Brandon Ingram took a step, and I think there's a reason to believe he might take another. Like I think that team realistically is the biggest sleeper here. And obviously other than the Lakers, but to potentially jump much higher.
We're putting the Pelicans in the green.
I think the Pelicans belong in the green.
And not Luka?
That's what I'm saying.
You guys are wrong.
I
think that team is far more balanced.
All right, and put Dallas over Minnesota.
I mean, yeah, the Pelicans probably aren't going to be 5, but still, I think they have the biggest shot made with. If Zion comes back and looks like the guy who was the most efficient basketball player of all time, which is basically what he was when he was playing, that team is going to be unbelievable.
So how about the Suns over the Pelicans?
Fine. I'm fine with that. I think we're screwing the Suns over even by having the Grizzlies above them. But
I don't think the Suns will be good this year. And I have a hard time believing that the Mavericks will be a play-in team. They're going to squeeze into the playoffs somehow.
We'll see. I'm not a believer.
Okay. Wow, this is interesting. I'm enjoying this.
Then let's take a look now at. But now that we agree, I think we have the top 8 teams in the West. I think there's one team that I think is probably 9th and could easily be much higher, depending on how they handle things, and it's the Lakers.
Okay.
Because I can't necessarily see anyone else beating them out. I think LeBron and AD are just that good. And, like, the rest of the roster does kind of suck. But, like, I don't know. If they send Russ home or, like, do ultimately trade away those 2 first-round picks they have to, like, get something, I think it could I think they could ultimately make a big push.
Okay.
For now, the way it's constructed, they're the 9.
I think the Los Angeles Lakers will make the play-in solely based on the fact that I think they're better than the Kings or the Blazers, who are pretty much the only other 2 teams in the West that don't seem to be tanking.
Yeah, but hear me out. I think the Kings are making it. I think
You put the Kings here instead of the Blazers.
I think the Kings are better than the Blazers. Is that an insane thing to think?
No.
I totally think it. Like, I understand it is a little crazy, and they went like Hail Mary for a lot of their guys.
The
But they're
Kings
not
have
bad.
zero depth. After Ayton, after Sabonis, Fox, and Harrison Barnes,
Well, Keegan
who do
Murray.
I trust on that
Oh
team?
my God, Davion Mitchell's good. They just signed Malik Monk, who had a good season last year. They traded for Kevin Huerter. Like, they have guys.
Keegan Murray
Keegan Murray.
is
But
really good.
again, he doesn't move the needle for me.
Rashawn Holmes is good. Like, they're a
Backup
good
center.
team. I don't think they're great, but I think they're like that. I don't know. I think they're gonna break whatever that long streak is of them not making the playoffs. How many years has it been?
Oh, you think they're going to win the play-in?
No. I think they're gonna get to the play-in.
Okay. And so you'd put Portland here.
I would put Portland there.
I think that's fair because anywhere where there's a juncture between green and yellow and red and yellow, I think that could always. I think those
It
teams
could always flip.
So it's fair to have the Trailblazers in the conversation that they might make the play, but I still think they're really bad. They're like a trading Damian Lillard away from getting Wembanyama next year.
Oh my God, you're putting. Yeah, I guess the Rockets are up there, but
I think the Rockets are building something, and since the Oklahoma City Thunder lost Chet for the season,
it's true.
they're probably the next best team. And then I'd probably put
I think Utah's
here.
the bottom. I think Utah's the bottom, assuming they trade everyone, because I think they're probably going to.
At some point, I don't think Conley, Bogdanovich, and Clarkson will be on the roster, but I think while those guys are on the roster, they'll stay afloat long enough to be. I don't think they'll be in the play-in conversation ever, really. Maybe up here at 9 or 10, but once those guys are off the roster, they're done.
I agree with that.
And then I'd probably put the Thunder here, and then the Spurs last.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Spurs, I mean, like, they have Keldon Johnson.
No.
He was on Team USA. It counts for something.
The Jazz are
bad, though.
The Jazz are going to get rid of those guys. So
the Jazz are going to get rid of those guys. But the Thunder are also still bad.
But they have Giddey and
SGA and
Giddey, SGA, Dort.
Yeah, they're going to be a little better.
And
Favors.
And they long-term committed to Dort too.
Yes.
So, I didn't love that contract, but whatever.
I think OKC is actually committed to trying to do stuff at this point. They have so many picks built up. That's why I think they're probably going to wind up better than the Jazz. But that's just me. And I think Houston all of a sudden is okay. But they're all right.
Okay, so now that we have this out of the way, let's do first overall pick.
Well, the problem is the lottery complicates things, but I think the worst record in the NBA this year will be the Jazz. I think I'm operating under the assumption that those guys are all off the team.
You're saying Utah. Let's do it this way.
Okay. I like some of these categories. The problem is the first pick is impossible because
you're putting the Jazz here, Matt.
Yeah, and I mean I can't obviously predict how the lottery is going to unfold, but I'm just gonna guess it's them getting the first pick.
You want to take a shot at it, Mike?
Oh, and I guess I can finish mine out too. I think best record in the NBA is going to be the Milwaukee Bucks.
I'm going to go with this. In my perfect world, because I have a really sour taste in the Jazz. In my perfect world, the Spurs with Pop. Did Pop retire yet?
No.
No.
Like, I think Pop's parting gift is going to be Wembanyama. You know, like
It's storylines.
and this, yeah, it's a good storyline. The Spurs really need something like that. So in my perfect world, I would like the first pick to be San Antonio, and I think it's realistic. So put me in for them. Best record. This is always so strange. Best record is always really strange, and I don't think it's going to be the Bucks.
Maybe not. I happen to think so.
I mean, I guess
Them are the Nuggets in my eyes, but
and I guess if we're going with the Warriors at the top, but I bet there's load management there too. I'll go Nuggets. I'll go Nuggets because I'm giving the Nuggets like the upside of being the 1 seed in the West. But I don't know.
And the worst record?
I don't love that pick, and I think the worst. I don't. Spurs.
There you go. Okay. Let's move on to Eastern Conference Finals. Who's making it to the Eastern Conference Finals?
who wants to lead off on this one? I
Luke,
steamrolled the first one. So
I think it's going to be Sixers, Bucks.
okay. I mean, I'd say that's like definitely a fair guess. Realistically for me, I can't believe
There are 4 teams that could realistically make it to the Eastern
I
Conference
can't believe
Finals.
I'm saying this. I think it's going to be Bucks Nets.
Okay.
I know.
I can see that. I can see that.
They're
It's
just-
Milwaukee, Celtics, Sixers, Nets. Those are the only 4 teams I can see in the Eastern Conference Finals.
I don't think the Heat are getting back. I don't know. I just think there's something about that Nets team that now I feel like all the years past, everyone like believed in them and they let everyone down. But this year, I feel like no one has any faith in that team.
Do we want to put the Bucks in here? Are the Bucks a lock?
Bucks are a lock.
I think the Bucks are a lock.
And I think if they don't get there, massive failure. They need to really figure out what the hell they're doing.
Coaching change.
Yeah, probably. And then, I mean, the second, I'm cool with deferring to you guys to pick it because I could see it being any of the Celtics, the Sixers, the Nets, and then like in some weird Hail Mary, the Heat get there. But
Some weird Hail Mary Knicks.
The reason I'm going to pick the Sixers is because of Harden's perceived commitment, and then also I think if Embiid didn't get hurt, that last postseason would be very, very different, and they were very poised to be an Eastern Conference Finals team. I think.
Okay, let's do the Western Conference Finals. Can I ask Clippers for a lock?
I think Clippers are definitely a lock.
I don't love it.
Are they a lock, Mike?
How can you look at that roster and think they are not getting to the Western Conference Final? The
Yeah,
only
There's a
way
lot
they
of good teams in
don't.
the West.
The only way they don't is if they get hurt, which I understand is a very realistic scenario given the players on their team. But they're damn good.
I want to put the Clippers in here so bad.
Okay, then I think majority has to rule. 2 out of 3.
I think we have to steamroll you here. Yeah.
All right, so start us off with this second team here, Mike. Who do you think is going to be?
It's hard to bet against the Warriors. It's not what I want. But
I think it's the Nugs. But I get what Michael's saying. I understand why he's saying the Warriors get there.
I just still think the Nuggets are not going to get over the hump. And I think, unfortunately, here's my weird thing about Jokic, because I think he's awesome. And I think he's no one's ever seen someone like him before. I think that he's the most unique player to really ever play. But I think there might be something that starts following him in his legacy that he can't get there.
Interesting. I can definitely see that.
I
It's
don't know.
possible.
Yeah, and like you just have to. Jamal Murray is going to be a big question mark. We'll see what the season brings. Same with Porter. Porter also weirdo test that Matthew doesn't care about. Weirdo.
He is a weirdo, but again,
So-
I don't care. Just I wish he would play a little more defense. I don't care how weird it, like flat earth weird he is.
They're a good team, but I still think push comes to shove. Like Steph and Clay making their threes and a really, really good system.
Yes, it's undeniable. And
I'm-
like you're gonna have Clay another year removed from injury. Like
And I'm going to sit here and
Yeah.
tell you this. I think that Western Conference Finals, there's some star power there. I'm a little bored, but
you're
anyway.
bored by that?
Yeah.
I think that would be an unbelievable series.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I'm sad. I'm
All
just
right. So who's going to the finals?
Clippers and Bucks. Lock it in.
Bucks for sure.
Do you guys think anyone else is going?
I
Realistically,
can see the Sixers edging one out against the Bucks.
Bucks.
No. Who's guarding Giannis on that team?
It's the Bucks.
They build a wall. It's a team game.
It's true.
Bucks.
I guess it really
They have big
down
bodies. Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid.
Someone's gonna have to
Have
guard
PJ
Middleton.
Tucker now.
Someone's gonna have to guard
they built a
Middleton.
wall.
And we'll
Huh?
see how Harden looks, but
I mean, PJ Tucker and or Tobias Harris could guard. They could slow down Chris Middleton. They can hold him to 20 a game. And if they can successfully build a wall while holding Middleton to 20, they can win. Because Drew Holiday's not going to get it done. We know that.
Harden's got to deliver in the playoffs.
Hopefully.
we'll
No.
see. I don't know that I
My knee-jerk reaction is the Bucks.
I want to say from the Western Conference, I think the Clippers go all the way this year. It's their year. It just feels like their year.
yeah, I mean I agree the Clippers are gonna make the finals.
That's
Is my
amazing.
guess.
I don't see it, but that is awesome to hear.
Overruled. I think the Bucks are winning the championship though over the Clippers. But
Bucks are winning.
I think the Bucks are winning. I think little heartbreak for Giannis last year after blowing that lead.
He
to the
wants it.
Celtics. I think they're going to come back in and yeah, I think they're going to win it again. And I
Wow.
think he's going to really launch himself into the conversation of like best 10 players of all time.
Okay.
Okay. So then next up, what are we doing? MVP?
Yeah, start with the MVP.
Um,
Who do you think's winning MVP this year?
it's a lame pick again, but Giannis. I'm so high on the Bucks going into the season. Like everything, because also if Middleton does miss a little time to start the year, like he's gonna have to shoulder a load at least to start the year. His numbers are gonna be through the roof. If the Bucks do, get the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, like I think they will, it's gonna be a lock. Like it's gonna be hard for anyone to do that. And I also think there's gonna be Jokic voter fatigue. So it all bodes well for him.
I think the Luka narrative's pretty strong. I think,
Luka?
yeah. I think,
Consider me a skeptic.
but I'll be honest with you. The reason I think this might happen is because I think it's the way this stuff works. I don't necessarily think he's going to be the most deserving one, but I think it's like the way the media on this works. And I think it's his time. I think the NBA needs their new, I know they have Giannis, I guess, so they don't need like a new, but Luka's that kind of LeBron Jordan-y type of dude, like very versatile scorer, exciting, really exciting. I don't know. I just think they're going to start pushing that. Whoa.
I'm going to put Kawhi in there. I think if the Los Angeles Clippers finish where we think they're going to finish, up here at 3,
Luke.
massive
No
storylines.
What happened with your job? What happened with, no, you don't think?
No, not yet. But he's in the conversation. I think just based off my 3 hours of 2K.
Because that's how all of our analysis is done.
I've played Ja Morant
Podcast.
twice in 2K now, and both times I played Ja Morant in 2K, he scored like 30 on me in 5-minute quarters.
Sounds like you're just
All-star
bad at
difficulty.
2K.
Maybe I am really bad at 2K. I won both games, but Ja Morant absolutely popped off against me. So
All right. I mean, look, I don't think Kawhi will qualify because he is going to sit games out. That's I'm a huge believer in the Clippers this year. Individually, I don't see that happening for him because I just think that's the same reason he's never in the conversation. Is he's always just he's sitting games out, and so
yeah.
Can I ask another question? Because I don't feel fantastic about my answer, but who do you think like the 3 are going to be that are being talked about? Like, what's the conversation?
I think it's going to be
Giannis,
Hard-
Jokic.
and Embiid probably again.
Oh, for MVP? What?
Yeah.
I think, I could see Embiid. I don't think Embiid's going to win it just because if you have Harden and Embiid, you can't win it. 2 MVP candidates on the same team ruin your chances.
I don't know that Harden's going to be in the conversation.
How about I forgot about Embiid actually.
I also just think like the same thing. Usually a runner-up gets close. So that's, again, why I think the Giannis.
I could see Embiid finishing 2nd or 3rd in voting, but
I think
don't
Jokic
think Embiid could win.
Jokic is going to be in the conversation again. I just don't think
Luka will
anyone
be in the
votes for him again.
conversation.
Yeah.
especially if our rankings play out. Both
Yeah.
Embiid and Jokic, it's going to be hard to deny.
And then the big question that, look, I don't think it's going to happen, but let's say Tatum makes a big jump here. He
Tatum
could easily, I don't think it's going to happen.
I think Tatum could be in the conversation. Zion could be in the conversation. Ja can be in the conversation.
But then, I mean, now we're expanding it a little too far. Like, couldn't we say that about a ton of guys? Like, could theoretically be in the conversation, but like Steph, probably.
I think with Westbrook winning MVP after that huge triple-double season and the Thunder being a playoff team, but not really a top playoff team, I think it changes the narrative of who can be MVP. And I think if you're looking at, if your team qualifies for the playoffs and you're the best player on your team, you're in the All-Star game, you can be in the conversation for MVP. Obviously, you want to average close to 30 points and you want to be averaging like a double-double, whether that's assists or rebounds. And you're an MVP candidate.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see.
If you average 27, 11, and 4, you're an all-star and your team is top 6 in your conference,
you're going to be in the
MVP conversation.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so let's move on to Rookie of the Year.
I have a feeling we're going to universally agree on this. And like, I think there are other guys who like might have a chance, but yeah, it's going to be Paolo Banchero for sure.
You spell it?
You nailed it.
We all agree on that?
I think we all agree. He has the best opportunity. He's the most NBA ready. I think you could make a case for a couple guys who are going to have opportunity on other teams. Like obviously Chet is now out of the conversation. He had season-ending surgery.
Ivy.
I think you can make
could be Kate's team.
I agree, but he's still going to put up better numbers because the opportunity is going to be there. I think you could make the case for Keegan Murray, who's going to be starting on that Kings team that really wants to win. And
you could make the case for Jabari Smith, but
he was my last one. I think realistically it comes down to Paolo and Smith.
You get let's say Scotty Barnes winning it last year in Toronto, I think is a little eye-opening. I think someone like Jeremy Shohan, who's on the Spurs, if he just comes out and plays a really great all-around game, contributes to solid basketball.
Yeah, I could totally see it.
Mm-hmm.
But realistically,
Paolo,
lock it in. I think that's one of the least controversial ones we'll have here.
All right.
Defensive Player of the Year. Yeah.
This one's tough because it's hard to think about like who's really good at defense. But yeah.
I mean, again, for a narrative perspective, you guys are gonna hate me.
I think we're gonna see Rudy Gobert step out onto the perimeter a little bit, and I think that's gonna change the narrative. And I think I
think the Nets are gonna be good, and Ben Simmons is gonna win Defensive Player of the Year. Oh my God. I'm going to hate listening to this podcast back in 7 months or whatever it is.
I'm saving this spreadsheet.
Oh my God.
I think it'll be fun to fill this in when all of it can be.
We should do this again at the All-Star break.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. Revisit some of my terrible Ben Simmons Defensive Player of the Year prediction. I don't know. I just think if the Nets end up turning it around and are good, and he is good, people are going to be like, oh, Ben Simmons, great at defense, whatever. Like he's the anchor for that team. Got to be Defensive Player of the Year.
I mean, I could see it, but
I'll go with Bridges. I'll go with Mikal Bridges. I
like that.
I think it's a solid bet.
I like.
Came in second. He's only getting better too. I think, and
definitely.
Really. So I'll go with Bridges.
I think most improved is also really hard to think about.
It's usually a young guy.
I mean, younger than 26.
I've got
his role is changing.
It's someone who takes like an all-star leap, more or less.
Can I go with who I think it's going to be?
And who you want it to be?
I have two who I think would be interesting if it was, but here's who I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be Mobley.
Okay.
But I again, the reason Luke kind of mentioned it with another category, but it was Russ. Like change who could be MVP. Like I think when we were discussing, who won it last year? Was it Ja?
I think Ja did win most improved,
which is kind of crazy. A third year guy. Like I know Evan Mobley's a second year, but I think Evan Mobley's probably going to be an all-star, and I think that's a massive improvement. So that's kind of tough. I also think a weird, sneaky one is Zion. Is that crazy to say?
No, absolutely not.
I think it's Evan Mobley or Zion, and then my third very wild card is Barrett. But I think that's a bigger stretch.
Hopeful for RJ Barrett.
What do you think? What do you think of Zion, Matthew?
No, I mean, the problem is, like, his numbers were so good before he got hurt. So, like, obviously you're now coming back from injury. So, like, to improve based on your past numbers is tough. So, like, I would more say it's like, oh, he's back and he's great. I don't know that he was too good before he got hurt to be eligible to win the award, is my thought.
Okay.
I think Mobley's a good pick. Usually it's like a second or third year guy. One that comes to mind for me because the roster got better is Cade Cunningham. I could see him making a jump and, like, really being in the conversation. I don't know that I'm, like, sold on that, but
all right. So if you had a second guess,
about a second guess,
what about
because he definitely was, like, my number one.
You guys think anything of Garland or no?
But I don't. Again, same thing. I don't think
because he was in the conversation last year.
Yeah, so that's why I don't think he can be. I don't know, Patrick Williams if he does really well for the Bulls, but, like, I don't think that's it. But let's say he does finally show that potential. Like, if he realizes that potential that everyone's been saying for years now, like, I could see that. And if the Bulls were better, I don't know. I think you could make the case for a ton of these guys. I think you could say
Tyrese Maxey.
Yes, absolutely. I think guys like that you could totally put in the conversation.
Because Maxey came off the bench early in the year and then slowly worked his way into more of a starting role. I think he's going to start this year. I
have a Hail Mary one that you guys might think is crazy, but it's all contingent on one thing. Okay. The Knicks do trade Julius Randle at some point. Obi Toppin is in that conversation just because he's going from having 4 minutes a game to 30. But no, don't put me down as that. That's conditional for Julius Randle getting traded, which I don't think is going to happen. Which is a shame because he really needs to.
I think keep Mobley for me. If
you want Mobley,
yeah, I think
that's a good pick. It's a good pick.
I think Mobley is going to sneak. It was Cade, Jalen Green, and then Mobley right in their draft. I still think over the long term, Mobley is going to be the consensus number 2 at least, and then could have been the number 1. I think he's going to be really, really good.
Yeah,
and I think he's going to take.
I think so too.
I think he might be the best power forward in the league in like 2 or 3 years, which is kind of crazy. But
yeah,
I think another one that would also be a good pick, Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, but again, he was. I had him in mind, but, like, he was too good last year.
Yeah, he's already good. I think
that's the problem. Like, it's kind of treading that line of like, I think he is going to hit a new level this year, but the floor was already too high.
But let's think about some, like, the Magic guards, right? You have Jalen Suggs, you have Cole Anthony. I feel like some of those guys could be pretty sneaky. I think they're mostly forgotten about because Orlando's not a huge market, but
yeah, I mean, just also looking around, like, I don't know. I
could see a Colin Sexton on the Jazz, most improved,
or if the Pacers outperform Halliburton. But
yes,
but guys like that, that's way too contingent. I think the more consensus ones are the ones we listed.
Right.
Okay. So let's move on to 6th man of the year.
Okay. I don't really love anyone for this award this year. Like, no one really jumps out at me. But if I had to pick one, I think Jordan Poole wins again. I know that's lame, but, like, he's probably the best bench player, him or Tyler Hero, but, like, or Emmanuel Quickly and Obi Toppin, but they're not going to win it. Luke Kennard. Wow.
I think the Clippers, I mean, you can kind of see my Clippers bias a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's going to be a starter with Reggie Jackson, John Wall, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. And that means they're kind of stacked up here at the front.
Morris, they have,
right? So he's going to come off the bench. Obviously, he's a scorer, shooter type guy. I think he's made strides with playmaking, especially as his career has progressed. So I could definitely see him being a potent off the bench scorer who wins 6th man of the year, because that's kind of the role you want, right? Like Jordan Poole, Jamal Crawford, Eric Gordon, right? You think about those types of guys.
Yeah.
So when I think about, Jamal Crawford, did you say Lou Williams?
Lou Williams is another one, yeah.
So when I think about the sixth man, I think about Lou Williams, which is like all you really need to be able to do is just cook on your own while you're in. Like you need to like come in and just destroy while you're and do a lot of crazy stuff, high energy, a lot of shots, a lot of playmaking. And I still think because he's going to get traded to a contender probably. I don't know how late in the season, so it might impact it, but probably Jordan Clarkson, I think, winds up
wherever he ends up.
Winds up moving and winds up being the off the bench kind of difference maker for whatever team he's on. But
I also think Sixth Man of the Year was won by Tyler Hero last year.
Yes. So I think Poole is still.
Jordan Poole is still in the conversation.
I think Poole almost is a starter almost. So.
But he just can't be.
Right, because of Curry, Thompson.
Right. You're never going to start him over them.
So
we'll get a couple starts with injuries.
Well, right. Yeah. And like load management of sorts with Clay and even Steph.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if someone like Moses Moody or Kuminga got the start.
Yeah. I mean, maybe. I don't know. Because, like...
Just be like, hey, we want to... Jordan, we love you as a player. We just want to keep your role the same, right? You're going to come in and you're going to play the same number of minutes you always play, blah, 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 right?
Eddie, what about quickly?
Again, it's the Tibbs syndrome. Brunson's going to play 35 minutes a game. So It's just like... Until they fire that man, it's... No. No one on the Knicks bench is going to play enough to be involved. All right, want to move on to Coach of the Year?
I'm making it easy. It's a gimme. I think he should have won it last year.
I don't think I agree with you.
I think it's him or Ime.
I was going to say Ime Udoka. And I think he got a little snubbed after what he did with the Celtics.
Is that how you spell it? Do you want me to put you down for Ime too, Mike?
I also think, weirdly enough, I think you could make the case for, and now literally I'm going to be Googling their names. I think you could make the case for Chris Finch with the Timberwolves if they do well. And then I think you could make the case for Willie Green with the Pelicans if they do well. Because that usually fits the narrative of like, borderline team, but they like surprise everyone and go off.
I feel it's an award you get 1 year late. So the year you should have won it.
You don't.
You don't, but the year following you do.
Right.
Which is why Taylor Jenkins, who probably should have won it this year, not Monty Williams, is going to get it. Do you want Ime, Mike?
They got to the finals last year. I don't know. I might as well do like a crazy one. I'm going to do Tyronn Lue, and like bringing the making the Clippers come together.
Okay, I like that. You want to move on to the scoring champ? Who's going to score the most points per game?
Okay,
I'll start easy pick.
You love Ja. All right,
He's going to win it. He's going to ball out. They're going to score 140 points a game this year.
You have to think about usage too. So
I'm torn. I'm so torn.
Could you see like a Bradley Beal, Trae Young?
I don't know why my head is going here, and it's just not going to be it.
I'll go Luka.
I think I'm making a mistake here, but Devin Booker, I think will do it because I think the Suns are going to look a little different. I think Chris Paul might take a little bit of a step back, and he's going to then perform more. Okay. But I'm probably wrong. That's more of a Hail Mary, and I would also like it if he won it. But oh my God, I'm already upset with my list looking at these names.
No, this was fun. This was good.
I'm not happy
we did it.
I know, Luke, you got to save this so you can make fun of me.
Oh, no, I'm definitely going to save this.
Literally first week of the season, I'm going to know all of these are wrong.
I'm going to save this and we can come back to it. I really think we should do this again
like
late
halfway
in the
through the
year.
season. Yeah, I'm down for that. All right. Well, now that we got through that, is there anything that anyone else wants to hit on? I know we've been on for like an hour, so
Yeah, a little bit more.
yeah.
I think this is good. I think what we have is really good.
All right. Awesome.
Maybe we'll think of something more as the season goes on, and then we can kind of be like a extra category. We can just like add it off to the side over here.
We can revisit some stuff. Yeah. And then, I guess, we'll put this episode out and then we'll try and start recording again more frequently now that the season's approaching. Preseason starts in like 3 weeks, 2 weeks, something like that. It starts sooner than you think it starts. So got a lot to look forward to with the NBA.
I'm season's coming quick.
Yeah.
I don't like my Jordan Clarkson pick. I already know it.
No, it's fine. He's won it before. You never know.
Yeah.
But all right. Unless anyone has anything else they want to hit on.
Mike, don't worry about it.
Kawhi's a bad one. Ty Lue, I think, is probably a bad one.
For all you know, you're the most right out of all of us.
All right. Well, unless anyone has anything else they would like to add, we can set our listeners free. If you love something, let it go. They might join us next week. But all right. Well, for those who've made it this far, thank you for tuning in. This is the Hoop Troop podcast, and join us next time.